Welcome back, everyone. He's on Fire podcast coming at you just a little bit late, but you know what? That is okay. Welcome, everybody that's coming in and joining late. We really appreciate you. Please like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We've got a couple things we definitely need to talk about tonight. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'm at Coach Evan B on Twitter. And you?
This is Amit. You know me, guys. If you saw After Dark on Friday, Sustainable Amit on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you want to find me, and number one Suns and Cardinals fan.
About that number one Suns fan right now, that is still hard to chew and hard to swallow. But you know what? We're gonna get into some of that right now. I definitely need to talk about a couple Cardinals things. I'm curious. Do you have a take of who you want to win the finals right now, with it being 2-2?
Yeah, I do. I went to Celtics. I went back and forth on this because I thought it was kind of like a worst case scenario. I really thought like I'd rather see Miami there versus the Warriors, and I thought that they could take care of them. It proved that Miami just doesn't have the star power that they think they have. The reason I didn't want the Celtics to be there is because, well, it's selfish. It's more of like it's a Twitter thing more than anything else. It's just like I don't want to see Tatum get a chip before Booker gets a chip, right?
But I don't want to see Steph get a freaking another one, or Golden State for that matter.
One, right? The Warriors fans would never let us down, and they'll always say that they could spank us anytime they want. But at the same time, do you think, and this is a question to you, do you think that the Celtics would be here if Chris Middleton didn't get hurt?
We'll never know. I don't know. It's possible. Maybe they would have schemed up something. I mean, they had the talent to be able to do so, to play against it, but who knows? Who knows? We're never gonna know. I would lean towards no, but I don't think so.
And do you? And if and and here's the tricky part. So I would say this. I would say that Chris Middleton, Giannis pick and roll, whoever it is, whoever's initiating it, that's probably one of the hardest things to defend in the NBA, with the shooters that they have and the spacing and all that. But I would also say this, because this is where now I'm getting into Lakers should have won, should have beat the Suns, and because Anthony Davis got hurt.
We ain't going there.
If the Suns didn't choke, that Game 7, do you think they would have beaten the Warriors?
The way that we were playing, no. The way that we were playing all through the playoffs, no, I do not. And something was clearly wrong. And I want to save it. I want to get into that. We have a lot we do need to get into. It's already been a few minutes and we're just bringing out the intro. That means we've got a lot to talk about tonight. So everybody tune in, share this out, like it. We'll be back in about 30 to 40 seconds. Watch some highlights, get the warm fuzzies. He's on Fire podcast. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Let's go.
Urbanchi sets, looks up, and it is caught! Down strong! Blitz coming, Matthews, Palmer extending the play, crosses the field, Larry Fitzgerald! Fitzgerald is insane to the 4-yard line! Crowder looking, throws it alley-oop, he puts it down! He puts it down! They're getting a little wobbly. The downfield shot Ayuk. The foot race. They won't get it. Center field. The Dbacks are world champions.
I'm really feeling the love over in the chat right now. I really appreciate you guys. Everybody's hopping in now. Go ahead and share this out, like, and all that fun stuff. We're already talking about the NBA Finals and what if with the Suns, and we're 4 minutes into the podcast, but this is where we're at. Just not the way we were playing. I don't think we would have beaten the Warriors. I mean, anything can happen. We had home court advantage, but something was clearly wrong. I don't think it had anything to do with COVID. I really don't. I want to say that's why, and I'm sure you do too. But that's just not the case.
Well, me and Jay played this game where we said if there was one player, I believe the story said that there was one player that tested positive with COVID, and we were trying to guess who that player was. Do you have an assumption?
I want to say it was probably Booker.
So it'd be his second time catching it.
Correct.
I
Just the
was
way
leaning
that he
more.
played and the way he did everything, I wanted to say Booker. What about you?
I mean, if it fit the narrative, I would want to say either Chris Paul which would be his second time, or Da. Otherwise, I'm like, honestly, I'm pretty sure it was like one of like the guys on the bench that don't even matter. But we were talking about the staffers, the 6 staffers, and we're like, for sure Monty got it because he was acting weird.
And here's the weird thing. I said this the week after. Why wasn't there any exit interviews? Why was
Yeah.
Monty giving his whole interview on Zoom?
Good point.
Monty was the only one that spoke to the media the day after. When has that happened? When was the last
Yeah.
time that happened, right? And when it wasn't obviously like 2020 or 21, like full COVID season. But
Yeah.
seriously, when did that happen? But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna back up. I'm probably not gonna say Booker. I would say Chris Paul, but I thought Chris Paul had the quad thing, right? Wasn't it his quad injury, Amit?
That's what they said. That's what they want us to believe. And I mean, I don't know, man. I just saw a disinterest in the team overall. I saw Booker trying, but like, Jay and I talked about this. I just think that Booker, there's certain things that he doesn't know how to do yet, and like split a double team, rise over 2 guys, pass out of that double team. I mean, those are things that he still has to work on at this point. And we're talking now like 7 years in the league. He can do the most amazing things that any basketball player can do, but it's just like certain things were just like when the offense breaks down and there's no movement, like, bro, like you got to figure, you should know this. Like, Kobe's your god, like figure it out.
So now here's my question to you. And I'm gonna
Actually,
pose this.
Jane S said that in the chat, and maybe that's the truth. Maybe like campaign had COVID for like the last 6 months. Like maybe that's really what's happened. He's got long
Okay,
COVID.
I completely agree with that 100%. But is Devin Booker that dude? Is he that Kobe? Is he that T-Mac? That type of dude that is gonna get the supermax and can go and make that play, make that game winner in a game 7, do all that stuff. I know he's a superstar. Like, he's a superstar. I'm not saying that he isn't. Is he, Amit, is he a transcendent superstar?
Well, okay, so I would ask you this then: do you think that Jason Tatum is right now, or can he be?
I feel like Jason Tatum is on his way to being like a Paul Pierce type of player, but he has a chance to break out and be more than Paul Pierce for sure. Like, he's at Paul Pierce's career when Paul Pierce got the big 3 joined him. And I don't know if you remember like the truth, Paul Pierce, like when he was
No, I
with
do.
Antoine Walker. Like,
Yeah.
dude was a killer. Like, we can bag on him now and it's funny now because of his takes and everything. But him and Antoine Walker were killers. Like, so I see Jason Tatum getting to that level. I think he can get over there. I think he can get over the hump.
Yeah, I think with him, it's another thing where there's just like there's some gaps in his offensive brain when it comes to like clutch time, and he just wants to take step backs, or like, drive on Bam and get rejected. Like, there's just, you have to
Yeah,
find like a midpoint, and I think Booker has that midpoint already. So that's why I'm bringing it up, because I think he's got a full offensive bag, like full, right?
sure.
And he already said that he's not Kobe. And I already see that in him because he's willing to pass the ball. He's willing to be the off ball player and get in the offense in different ways. I think we really need to go back to 2019, 2020, when it was a lot of stuff of him just on cuts. And we haven't been doing that. Like, we've been he's been the focal point more. And I think, like, let's get back to like that part, and then we know what he can do in clutch time. We know what he can do, what's in his bag. Let's focus on the most efficient shots for him. And if he can get up to 40% on pull-up threes, then we're talking about something special. And then can he extend his range to 40 feet like Dame and Steph and Trey?
Right.
then we have
Right.
something else we can cook with too.
Right. And I've really noticed with Booker, he's gotten this from Paul. Booker always used to go up and shoot like this, right? Well, now he's
Yeah.
bringing it back to the side and going up kind of
Yeah.
side shooting so that he
Yeah.
can get away with like step backs and a couple different moves. And he got that from Chris Paul so that, if you're up close to somebody, you can still pull up and shoot over them. That's kind of the whole point of the whole thing. And you don't get blocked. It throws off the other guy, yada, yada, yada. And Jay Ness, yes, I did say Paul Pierce. You need to go back and watch some film on Paul Pierce when he played with Antoine Walker. Boy, he was a problem. He was a problem. He was a T-Mac. He was being talked at like a Ray Allen type of player, or in that.
You don't get to name
talk.
the truth if you aren't like that. If you aren't that guy.
Yeah. Paul was the truth. He was, even when he was at Kansas. I loved those Paul Pierce and Antoine Walker teams. I really did. And I thought when they made the trade, Joe Johnson for Tony Delk and Rodney Rogers, I thought that was going to put them over the hump, Turns out we got the better end of that deal with Joe Johnson. So, I mean, go figure. I lost track. What were we talking about?
I don't even know, man. We were talking.
Devin Booker being transcendent. That's right.
Yeah, and I still think he can be, because I think a lot of things get lost in his game. Is that like people watch him and they're like, oh well, he couldn't finish. He doesn't play defense. He doesn't pass the ball. He's a ball hog. But then the guy put up 40-point games in the finals.
Yeah,
and he did it at a high clip. And we're watching Jason Tatum right now. I think he's shooting 34% in the finals for the series, right? And he's averaging less than 30 points or something. So, I mean, I think there's a lot to unpack with Booger, and we'll see with his career, and we'll see what the narrative is. But, I mean, let's not forget, like, he put up a 70-point game. He's done some amazing things. He has a whole reel and a whole list of game winners or clutch time baskets and assists, not just baskets, and assists. And my take is that having Chris Paul at this point in his career is taken away from that.
I kind of agree, because Chris Paul's trying to manage everything, right? I really feel like Chris Paul's trying to manage this, trying to manage that, get the best shot, run the best pick and roll, find the mismatch. He's doing all that stuff, which helps. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's stuff that you need when it comes playoff time, especially in the fourth quarter. We've obviously seen that before, right? But Devin Booker not taking over, not taking that big jump, winning games just completely on his own, that's something we're not seeing. So that's why I posed the question, is he that dude? He's that dude, but is he that dude? Is he going to win a championship on his own, on the back of 50-point performances over and over and over again? Is he that dude?
Yeah. So I will say this, like, we say that, and at the same time, like, we know what the refs think of him, and the amount of like disrespect he gets on foul calls in the playoffs, right? I mean, the most blatant one to me is the one where I think it was Mikal Bridges made the steal. They're going down, and then they called the foul back there, but it was clearly a flagrant foul on
Giannis.
On Giannis.
Yep.
And he made the dunk, right? Like, I believe he made the dunk on that too. But it was like one of those plays where you're just like, come on, man. Like that's the epitome of the Booker experience, where you will see him make the most difficult shots, get fouled at the rim, look at the ref, yell at the ref, not get the call, run down the court, and then that's it. And it's a cycle of just continuous abuse to him. And then if he puts his leg out just a little bit, offensive foul. If he talks a little bit louder, technical foul. If he slams the ball and gets a little aggressive with it, technical foul. Like, it's just,
he's on fire.
The whole, like, that's what I'm saying. The Booker experience is pretty much a Phoenix Suns experience, where nobody respects you, and there's always that disappointment leaning there.
He's on fire.
Perfect. That was a perfect way to describe it. That's exactly what it is. Like, I don't know if he has that Kobe gene. Like, he has it, but he doesn't have like the full gene. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
he's played in a team concept. Like, I feel like he understands, like, where Kobe got to at the end of his career is where Booker is sort of now, but he doesn't have that full Black Mamba. Like, and he does, like, we see him, but it's in stupid moments, right? Like those pull up threes to get the 2-and-1 at the end of the third quarter, like those shots. Like, it's just like, like, just drive to the rim, like, do something else. Don't do that. Shot never works for you. It barely works. or
Okay. Okay.
or you only make it when you step on the 3-point line. But we haven't seen that. Like, I'm gonna take, and Kobe was ridiculous. Like, he would take fadeaway 3-point shots with 2 guys guarding him in under 40 seconds in a game and make them.
Yeah.
And that's just like I think
That's just
Booker
stupid.
it's stupid, right? But the confidence is there. And I think Booker's smarter to be like, I don't need to do that. There's something better out there and I'll work for it. But he's not as good of a passer. And that's another thing. Kobe was an excellent passer. Excellent passer. No, he was. I mean, go back, dude. I saw a highlight.
No, I
the other
know
day.
he was, but I think Books turned out to be pretty damn good. I don't.
Oh, I think that's I think that's how the NBA is played, where he can make like left-handed like cross-court passes and hit a guy like in the spot to shoot a 3. Yes. But can he, like, the way that Kobe could find Shaq in like any position, bounce pass, alley-oop, around the back, like those types of things, like that's a different thing. Like, I don't see that sort of like, I can like find this guy, this huge dude like Aiden anywhere.
No, 100%. I don't see the Kobe T-Mac stuff at all. I see like a better Ray Allen, maybe. Not as good a 3-point shooter, but like a better all-around game than Ray Allen. Kind of like a Ray Allen, Rip Hamilton mix. That's kind of what I see with him, except less 3-point shooting and more playmaking on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say he's like, and it's funny because he was compared to Clay, but I would say he's Clay 2.0, the way that Steph is Nash 2.0.
So,
100%.
And I want to ask you this: who do you think would help? And everybody's in the chat's asking. He just needs to be paired with somebody. Now, if he were to play with somebody like Dame, would that change his mindset to be more offensive heavy focus? Like, that's what I kind of keep coming back to when I'm thinking of trades in my head. What is Bradley Beal going to do? Because CP could retire next year. He's going to play with Beal for the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years, right? Or Dame or whoever that is. What is that going to do to Booker? So if he plays with a Beal, whoever is that's more offensive juggernaut minded, what is that going to do to Booker?
There's a lot of like clutch defensive plays that CP3 has made, like in regular season games where he just like strips a guy on a fast break in a clutch game, or he like, I think you lose those things, so it ends up being like, now it's all about the offense. Now we have to make more threes. Now we have to have more possessions, and that's pretty much what the NBA has been. There's only a few teams, like I would say the Suns are one of those teams that they don't, and I can verify this with data. Like if you look at the Mavericks when we played them, like if you look at, was it a 3-point shot, was it in the paint, or was it a free throw? Like they would get 8 points, literally like 8 points out of the entire game of 110 points were generated in the mid range. The Suns would have like 40 points. So I like the idea of having mid range players to counterbalance what other teams do, because it just, if you can go one-on-one in that way and score. But I just don't like CP3 at this age and what we have to expect from him. So if you're asking me, like, should we have Beal or should we have Durant? My heart says Beal for sure, because he's younger, he's more athletic, and he can do more things. I think Durant
less injury prone.
He's less injury prone, even though he's had some serious injuries, but he seems to bounce back, and he's younger. And let's be real, like Kevin Durant has not won other than the Warriors. Like they got swept. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like we're talking about, this was the team that everyone said, oh, they're the champions. They're going to be the champions. The Nets. They got swept in the first round.
He's heating up.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And to add in the injuries, add in all that stuff, add in the drama that could potentially come with it. And then the expectations. And I posed this to a question earlier, if we win with Kevin Durant, is it going to be more about Kevin Durant or more about Phoenix? It's going to be more about Kevin Durant.
The narrative changes. And what's a window? What's a window with Durant? Like,
dude, like he's going to be turning 35. It's not that he's 34 for the whole season. He's turning 35. So he's going to be 35, 36, 37. I mean, we saw what Chris can do. I mean, everybody's
But
seen what Tom Brady can do. So, like,
yeah,
legitimate, like, what is the window? Nobody knows, and that's kind of the problem too.
and what you're saying is we saw what Chris Paul can do at 37, and that's not appear in the second round, game 7. Because of a whatever, like the excuse. There's tons of excuses there. We don't need excuses, dude. We need guys that show up and win. So
Uh,
yeah, now I'm getting more convinced now that I want Bradley Beal.
I'm 100% on that. I mean, after 9 years of being there, 9 years of not winning, not even sniffing the conference finals, you know what I mean? Having
Yeah.
a defensive coach like Monty, I'm really excited to see what like a guy like Bradley Beal would do for this team when Chris Paul goes out. You can rest
And I
Chris
think both
Paul.
those guys can play off each other. I think like the Chris Paul thing is it was like that when he was with Harden, where it became like, well, you run the offense, then you run the offense, or you know what I mean, or he wouldn't even run the offense, and Campaign would come in and run it. I think with Beal, I think there's more synergy in the fact that they can just flow in the offense. Like it doesn't matter who brings it up. Like let's just figure it out, and then
Yes.
right, like
Yes. Chris Paul plays 25 minutes, maybe 28, whatever. Then, you have Beal and Booker taking over. Beal maybe goes out. You have Booker take over for the rest of the first quarter. Then you have Beal and Chris Paul come in to start the second quarter. Chris Paul can then rest as long as he wants. I think you need to scrap the Chris Paul starting the second quarter thing and have him finish the second quarter, anyways. But then you have Beal or Booker start that second quarter with it. You bring them back together. It doesn't matter who comes up, who takes the ball up. I mean, New Orleans proved you don't need a legitimate point guard. I don't think you need that anymore in this day and age. You need playmakers and shot takers and shot makers. And that's exactly what Beal is. And think about this. What kind of chip on his shoulder is Bradley Beal going to have versus Kevin Durant? Who has more to
oh,
prove?
for sure. But all the stuff you're talking, I just realized we are not on the same wavelength. I was thinking shipping Chris Paul to get Bradley Beal in some.
I'm fine with that too.
I don't think the three of those guys work together, because if that means I have to lose Aiden, then I'd rather keep Chris Paul and try to figure it out in another way. But if you're saying like I can somehow package maybe like McHale, Cam Johnson, or like picks or something to get Bradley Beal for Chris Paul, that's what I want to do.
I mean, Bradley Beal has a player option to be able to exercise out, and he's expected to. So he would be a free agent. So we don't need to get rid of anything to acquire
Yeah.
him if he opts out, which everybody says he's going to because he's tired of losing.
Yeah, but he makes us money that way. So I don't know. I think a sign and trade makes more sense, right?
I honestly don't know the whole mechanics of the sign and trade and the CBA and stuff, and I'm really tired of all these guys that think that they know it all because they've read the whole
Yeah.
CBA, throwing all the stuff out there. Like, I'm sorry, I don't have a chance to read a 142-page document and go over absolutely everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's kind of annoying. So I haven't read all that. I don't know for the full stipulations, but in theory, I would think that would make more sense. But then again, none of this matters until we figure out what we're doing with DeAndre Ayton, bro.
Yes.
I think half of the NBA is waiting on that.
Yeah. There's a lot of dominoes because, um, you know, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of question marks around the league. Like we don't know where Kyrie Irving is going to be, and that impacts Kevin Durant. I believe so. I think PG-13 is under contract. I don't know if Kawhi is. Is he under contract? Do you know?
I'll double check. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So there's that component to it, and there's another guy which I would love to pair with Booker's Kawhi or PG-13
Oh yeah,
somehow. Right.
that would be incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're under for another 2 years, 22, 23, 23, 24, both for the same exact amount. So 42.4 and then 45.6 the next year. But
Yeah.
I mean, again, I go back to what Flex said. There are two guys, and we're always focusing on KD. We're always focusing on Beal. Damian Lillard is still out there, although that looks like it's not going to happen because he's actually in the player to draft workouts, with the Blazers. I don't
Yeah.
think that's going to happen. So I hope we can get off of that one. Then the next one, Spida, Donovan Mitchell. He's another guy that's a lot of rumors floating around with him. I'm just listing names.
Yeah. I know.
And then there's another one out there.
So I will take him over Chris Paul.
Donovan Mitchell?
Yes.
I
because
worry
he's young.
about I love his game, and I've gone on record saying it a bunch of times. He is so injury prone though
Yeah,
with his ankles at a young age.
because he's
That scares
athletic as
me.
shit. He's so
Yeah.
super athletic.
I mean,
But
I do
the
wonder if like PG or Kawhi or somebody like that is the other second superstar we're talking about. Something just I
and
have a weird thing about that. And Vlogs, real quick, Vlogs is saying Beal and Siakam. I think Siakam is another one that's out there, and so is Jeremy Grant as well too. But they're not the superstars that I'm thinking of.
dude, Siakam to me reminds me of Jeff Green, man. He's just that guy that just like everybody thinks he's really, really good. And then until he gets your team and you're like, man, this guy is not good. So I would, if there's any Toronto Raptors fans out there that can tell us about Siakam, please come on here and tell us. Because from what I've seen in the playoffs and other things, that stupid spin move that he continuously does just over and over and over again, like I'm not a fan of him
I like
as
him.
as a top tier talent. As a top tier talent,
As a top tier talent, no. Like I like him. If we were to keep if we were able to keep Aiton and get him, like
yeah,
I would lose
for
my shit,
sure.
right? That's what I'm talking about. That's a 6'8" dude that has a long reach. He has touch around the rim. He can make his own thing happen. He can shoot the three. Defensively, he's a Mikal Bridges at the 4. You're
Yeah,
talking about Mikal and him together defensively. That would be ridiculous. Go back and watch game 1 against the when he was with the Raptors, obviously, but against the Warriors in the finals when he scored 43, 45 points. Dude went off, and he has a weird craftiness about him that I like.
yeah.
It's not your typical, I'm going to back you down or something like that. It's just, I want to call it abnormal, but it's normal for him,
It's
and he
abnormal
gets it
because he
done.
didn't play basketball in the U.S. He didn't play AAU basketball, and they're trained a certain way, right? You know, as coach, like the way you have to dribble. Like I mean, I have to do this with my son. Like there's just certain like moves that it just become ingrained on like jump hops and just things you have to do in basketball. He doesn't have that, but at the same time, I would say that his dribble is pretty reckless too. It's wild. It's a little open, so when he does his crossovers, you can tell it's not
Like a
like
US crossover.
it's not a US crossover. Yeah.
No, I hear you. Um here's an interesting part that I have a nice take on this. Look, man, Julius, I don't know. People hate Julius Randle. I don't fully understand it. I know he's a bully, he's all that, but you tell me that we couldn't have used a Julius Randle against the Hornets or against that weak Knicks or weak Mavs front line? Like, I don't know, man. He brings a toughness that I've dreamt about with Aiton. There is a certain toughness there, and you can bag on him all you want, but let's remember he was with the Lakers when they were trash, and now he's with the Knicks, who's one of the worst
So
organizations in all of sports in the last 20 some odd years. And look at his coach. I mean,
yes.
if it
So
wasn't
there's
for
two.
Derrick
I
Rose, he
think
would have
like
no offense to speak of.
you have to. There's two expectations when you talk about Randall. There's the Lakers Pelicans version of him, and then there's the first year Knicks team, right, where he was like shooting like 40% from three. Like that was an aberration. The only guy that exists is that like Lakers Pelicans version. So if that's a guy you want, don't expect to get that Knicks guy where they made the playoffs. That guy was a complete aberration. So you have to talk about it that way and be like, okay, that's the guy we're talking about. So if he fits with the team, sure, right? But if you say that, then you have to tell that dude, yo, man, the 3-point shots, the extra dribbling, the ISOs, like that's gone. Like you're going back a few years to what you played before, right? Before you were the max guy. And so that's where I'm like, it's the same conversation they have with Kyrie, with Harden, with Ben Simmons, with all these guys that their expectation was greater than what they provided, and so you have to like, they think that they're that guy, and like, bro, you're not that dude. You know what I mean?
I've always liked his game. I've always wanted to be able to get some sort of guy that can get his own bucket down low without having to depend on anybody, kind of Charles Barkley-esque. I'm not saying he's like Charles Barkley. I'm just saying give it to him down low. He found a way to get a bucket, right?
Yeah, but then he started catching the ball at the 3-point line and going down, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like that's where he's gonna want the ball now, and that I don't think that fits with our offense.
Yeah, I think Ife Lundberg is definitely going to be coming back. I've heard a lot of Twitter chatter and stuff that he's coming back. I mean,
I
I don't
hope
think
he
that's
is.
going to move the needle one way or another. If we're being
No.
honest, I mean, I'd rather give his spot up for like Gary Harris. I'd take that in a heartbeat. Give me Gary Harris off the bench. Find a way to ship Landry Shaman and campaign out of here. Oh Lord, I'd love that. I also found something very interesting last night on Twitter. Salaries line up exactly a Jay Crowder for Monty Morris type of trade, and now we got our backup point guard in Monty Morris. Interesting. I don't know if
Is
that's
he
the
more
deal I would
consistent
take.
than Campaign though?
Huh?
Is he more consistent than Campaign?
Hell yeah, he's more
No,
consistent than
he's not.
campaign. I
No,
would
he's
take
not.
him, but that's not going to matter until we figure out what goes on with Ayton, because I fully
Yeah,
expect Jay Crowder to be part of any type of trade to match salaries anyway. So I don't think that's
yeah.
realistic.
I mean, look, we have a bunch of expirings, right? Like you got Campaign, you have
Crowder,
Saric,
Saric,
and
Cam
Crowder.
Johnson,
If you
technically.
want, yeah, if he accepts I think he has to sign a qualifying offer for that to work. But yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot of money out there. There's so many things that this team can do, and we don't have a first round pick, so
Would
uh,
would you take Ayton for Miles Turner and Halliburton or Healed? Halliburton or Healed?
no.
Ayton for Miles Turner and Halliburton.
How old is Miles Turner? Do you know?
I'll check.
I think I know he's under 30. He's probably like 27 or 25 or something.
26,
I don't
bro.
Yeah, I don't like his game though. Like I know he's like I think Ayton does more than what he does. He may do it with more effort at this level, but I still would take Ayton. Like I just want to see what he
Sure.
could become.
Absolutely. I mean, I think anybody would. And let me make my stance perfectly clear so that nobody fumbles my words or my takes or anything like that. My preference is to keep DeAndre Ayton. He's 23
Yeah.
years old. We're talking about Beal, KD, and all these other guys that are 28, 34, all that stuff, right? We see DeAndre Ayton's development. We see it. I get it. But from when I'm watching, there's something missing. There's always been something missing there. And what is it? Is it a mental block? What the hell is it? Is it the video games? Is he tired? Is he pissed off at Chris Paul and Devin Booker because he's getting shit all the time and he doesn't like playing with those guys? Is he passive aggressive? Is he pissed he's not getting the ball and Booker and Chris Paul are pissed at him because he's not putting in the work like they are? I don't know, but there's something missing. And the more I watch of Ayton right now, the less I want to. I'm not stupid though. We see it. We see the growth. He's 23, 100%. He just had a kid. That takes time. He's adjusting. He's 23. He's 23. He's 23. I'm going to keep on saying that because he's so young. Immaturity is at an all-time
Yeah.
high. Just look at Luke. I guarantee you Luke is going to be different 10 years down the road than he is now, even though I hate the living daylights out of him, right? But if he doesn't want to be here and he's not putting in the work and he's not hustling and there is clash and that can't be fixed, we have to get rid of him.
Yes.
We
Yes.
have to.
Yes.
Period. End of story.
Yeah. No, you do. And trying to find equal value is going to be the hard part. You're not going to find equal value because he's going to go somewhere and where they put up huge numbers, right?
I don't get those vibes, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Like he's not the bust like Kwame Brown is, but I get what you're talking about, Westville. That's an interesting point.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, you can say that. And Westville, we saw Kwame Brown play against the Suns in the playoffs and get absolutely annihilated. So the only comparison I would say between those guys is their hands. That's it. And Kwame Brown had way worse hands than DeAndre did.
And Jay Ness brings up a good point before DeAndre Ayton loses value. And here's my thing. That's a great point. If we keep DeAndre Ayton next year and this beef or whatever it is going on to the trade deadline, I could see him averaging 14 points, 9 rebounds, not giving an F, and now we have to trade him and get Scrubs back. That's a worry. That's a legitimate worry.
It is, but anytime you have a big contract like that, and let's say another player gets disgruntled, like a Paul George or someone else, that opens the door for that. So the best part about having these like big contracts is that if anybody gets mad, if any gets like Dame is like I'm out, or if anybody says I'm out, like it's real easy to make those contracts work at that point. especially with a guy like Aiden who's 23, who's like maybe not showing his potential. Maybe like people think like he doesn't live up to the system. So I mean that's what like makes it really the NBA so like wild is that like anything can happen at any time. You know what I mean? Because the contract situation, guys get upset. Like Ben Simmons, ended up in New Jersey or New whatever Brooklyn, and we all thought that was going to happen like a year before that, and then it happened a year later, and it happened under completely different circumstances.
If you're gonna get rid of him, and don't let it linger. I think everybody that follows sports to some degree should know that right now. Vlogs, I just read today that Dave King said this trade is not legal, so that will not be happening.
No, it
That's why I
can't
kind of looked it up
because
there.
that pick has to be. You have to know who that player is, and you have to have that contract already signed. So it doesn't work.
Yep. There's a lot of things are going on right now. I mean, I think everybody in Suns Nation is just kind of still healing. You know, they're kind of processing in their own way. They have their own opinions on which way they want the Suns to go. I firmly believe the Suns already know what they want to do in theory. We heard it with Monty's press conference afterwards, specifically leaving Ayton out. I do read into things like that, especially with a guy like Monty. I also worry about, man, Monty's like the nicest guy I've ever seen in the NBA for coaching, right? What does it take to get yelled at like that by Monty in front of 18,000 fans in a game 7? Did Ayton really do something to the point where he deserved to get benched? The truth is in the middle. The truth is 100% in the middle. Ayton's pissed he's not getting a contract or getting passed, and everybody's pissed he's, not putting in his worth. The truth is in the middle somewhere there. We're not going to know where it is. I fully expect that Ayton's going to be the first domino to fall. And the draft is a week from this Thursday, bro. The draft is then. We're 10, 11 days away? Do you think something's going to happen on draft night? Like, is that going to be it?
If it is, it's not going to be an Ayton move. I think it'd be more of like a. So I haven't really looked at the draft in depth to see what the talent level is. Maybe you probably know more better than I do.
To a point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, I mean, we messed up. Like, so actually, I wanted to ask you this question: what do you think would have happened if we wouldn't have traded away Jalen Smith? Like, because at the end of the day, we actually needed that guy. Like, that's what we needed was a mobile, small ball 5 guy. And I know his tendency is to protect the rim, but I wonder if like he could have played those minutes against Dallas that Biyombo couldn't figure it out.
But they weren't playing him, and he didn't get the experience. I'm sure he didn't have like the confidence or whatever. Like, they weren't pushing him to do that. In hindsight, if they did, I would have been all about it, and that's who I would have preferred. But they just weren't playing him. And they weren't prepping him to be able to do so. And I think this is more of a story about the fall of Torrey Craig. I mean, if Torrey Craig would have been able to come out and play like he did and throw up the 5 to 8 points, get the 4 to 6 rebounds, steal a block and a thunderous dunk here or there, we wouldn't even be talking about this. But the fact that Jalen Smith can go out and get 13 and 7 right now, that's the problem. And Torrey Craig needs to go, and Ish Wainwright needs to gobble up any and all of those minutes, in my opinion.
100%. And that's another $5 million expiring contract.
Yep. And Landry Shamet needs to go, and we could go on and on and on, but the draft is going to be big. I really wanted to do a draft special, but I'm going to be flying back from Daytona Beach that night. I'll be landing at about 6:37 my time, so if anything breaking goes on draft night, I definitely want to try to hop on 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it ends up to be. So, more to come on that, but nothing is going to happen until DeAndre Ayton gets settled. And I have a funny feeling, though, we're going to hear a Cam Johnson extension before any of that. How effed up is that going to be if Mikhail, Landry Shamet, Cam Johnson, they all get extensions and stuff before DeAndre Ayton does? If that happens, to me, like, the writing's on the wall right there.
He's
100%. Sonia, Jay just had a little thing he had going on tonight. He couldn't make it. In Jay's defense, this is the first He's on Fire stream that he's missed. He's never missed one before. He does his After Dark with Amit, which I haven't done with him yet. He's been on all the live streams. So you know what, Jay? Cheers to you. You the real MVP, but we do miss you, buddy. We could go on and on about what ifs, ands, buts, woulda, coulda, shouldas with the Suns. I'm looking forward to just figuring out what's going to happen and hopefully hearing more tidbits about what did happen in Game 7. I really want something else to come out. So, do you have any last words on the Suns before we move on?
No, I mean, we kept me and Jay when we were talking, we kept going down this rabbit hole of like all the different
Rest in
things
peace
that
to
could
Jay's
happen.
streak.
I know it's just like shots at Jay. I mean, it was just like, well, if just other seasons and scenarios where things happen to other players, and you're just like, how does that fit in with the Suns and all that stuff? I mean, I look at it and I go, look, man, like Jason Tatum, he's been with the Celtics for 6 years. And he has been in the Eastern Conference Finals, I think, at least 3 times now. So he's gotten his playoff scars. And Booker's gotten the Finals playoff scar. He's got this scar. He's got the bubble scar.
He's got the losing scars too.
The
Just
losing
the
scars.
Straight up losing.
But it doesn't. But that stuff doesn't
Embarrassing.
count for the playoffs. You need those playoff scars, right? Like Giannis had multiple years of playoff scars before they won. I think he was in the same stretch, 7, 8 years, right? So maybe that's the key is 7, 8 years, and then Booker figures it out. But I really want him to. I think he's got to grow as a player, and I honestly at this point, like Chris Paul is a crutch for him. He is not. He's there to get the team to a certain point, but then he's also there to take away from Booker shine when we need it the most. And he needs those reps in the regular season where Chris Paul's taking him away. So, I love Chris Paul. I love what he's done for this team. I'm thankful for that. I think I'm thankful for what he's done for the community. But at the same point, I'm just like, how can we move off this?
What's
deal?
best for the team?
How can we move off? Yeah.
Boom shakalaka!
Completely agree. This is last question. Is this the biggest Suns off season since the Amari Stoudemire losing him and shine? Who did we sign? We signed Josh Childress and Hedo Turkoglu and Hakeem Warwick. Is this the biggest off season since the 2010 off season?
Which is like those 3 signings are like the worst signings. I gotta say, combination in the NBA.
Josh Childress is like the Landry Shamet signing, dude.
Yeah, no, but he got way more money than Landry Shamet got. Landry Shamet got like 40 million. This dude got like 60 or something. What did he get? He got a ridiculous deal.
45 over. I don't know.
At least 10 million a year. Shamet's not even making that. Is he?
I think Shamet's getting like 10.5, 10.6 to get like 45 over 4 years.
And if you include like today's inflation, I mean, like that's a pretty good deal. But this is, I mean, what you do with Ayton at this point tells you what you're doing with your team for the next like 5 years at least.
DiVincenzo doesn't move the needle for me, by the way, Coda Kid.
No.
I like him. That just doesn't move the needle for me. I think he's marginally better than Landry Shamet, but that's really it. I mean, as I've said, give me like Gary Harris or something like that. If we're going to add to this current team and not go for a superstar, we go for a superstar. We can't get a Gary Harris.
And DiVincenzo, when Chris Middleton went down, what did he do? Like, can you even tell me anything that he did? So That's my point. Like, you need
they moved him and they decided it was better to move him and go with Grayson Allen.
In the Sacramento deal, right?
Yeah, in the Sacramento deal. They decided to move on from DiVincenzo and go with Grayson Allen. That's how much they cared about him.
So that's my point. Like I guess like I don't want to sound racist, but like 2 white guys that I didn't even know.
He light skin.
Yes, light skin.
DiVincenzo was hurt. I know. As a quality signing, like a week or 2 into the free agency, when all the major moves are done, you could talk me into it.
Yeah, I think the biggest wild card we're gonna see is what we get out of Saric. Because like that guy would have been such a connector for this team with Campaign. Like Campaign, if you go back and look, like he thrived with him in the lineup.
He thrived with him, thrived with Rubio.
And can you imagine like a JaVale McGee, Saric, 4-5 with Campaign? I mean, like
in
there's so
theory,
many possibilities.
Hey, if Campaign 6 is here, he needs to get his shit together. But hey, we have a special guest that just popped in real quick. Let's welcome the one and only Jay Ness. Oh no, we got to fix that overlay now. That overlay doesn't work with a mid on there. You see that, Jay?
I see that. He got the fire on him.
Yeah, yeah.
Now it looks nice. Now it looks nice. I like that.
Can't do it like that though, but you are on fire. Maybe if he just propped up a little bit. We'll rock with this. Jay Ness, what is going on, brother? What do you have for us? You got some Suns talk? We were about to go in the Cardinals, but you got something on the Suns? Sounded like you had something on your mind if you popped in, bro.
Hey, we can move to the Cardinals, but before we do, I have a couple of things because everything you guys have been saying has been dead on. And I feel weird about what we're going into. And every time we're in this position, guys, especially us Suns fans, what we want to happen versus what happens are like 360. And right. I have a weird feeling Cam Johnson's on his way out. And it hurts for me to say this.
Don't start with me.
Bro, I understand. But listen, hear me out. We can't give up Jay. Jay is our physicality.
You talking about Jay Crowder?
Yeah. We can't give up Jay.
He's in the final year of his deal, and so you wouldn't put Cam Johnson at the power 4?
We're not talking about me.
Okay.
We're not talking about me. I would give Cam his extension. Me and all three of us actually talked about this in the beginning of the season, that we thought Cam needs to be starting by now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Our problem is Ayton, though. At the end of the day, we go back to Ayton. He doesn't establish the physicality.
True.
Jay is our physicality. And that is our problem. Yeah, and Iverson, I agree. Jay's a very streaky shooter. Here's the problem with this. If we remove Jay, who's our enforcer? Who brings the physicality to the floor?
That's why I like the potential move of a Julius Randle. Just throwing it out there. Go ahead.
Now, if we go Julius Randle route, I'm okay with that. Not if we give it up for Ayton.
No.
Because then that just takes away what we were building on. We're back in the same position. Now we need a center.
Yeah.
So it's a very weird position we're in. I think Cam is gone. And it's either Cam or Ayton.
He's heating up.
And I hear what you're saying. I think so with Ayton and his physicality, I agree with you. Like, he is not Shaq. He is not Embiid. He's not these guys.
He's not David Robinson.
He's not David Robinson.
He's Alonzo Mourning, like I've been saying for 2 years. He's Alonzo Mourning.
Alonzo will lay paws on you. Ayton playing Fortnite.
Yeah. I mean, but at the same time,
he's on fire. That was good.
He doesn't go after contact, but he's not afraid of it either. I think he's more afraid of getting stripped and stolen when he drops the ball down and dribbles than he is about actually getting fouled.
Then why does he dribble so much?
I don't think he dribbles at all. I think he barely dribbles.
My problem with Ayton
is, dude ever dribbles.
No, he dribbles. Okay, I get what you're saying, but he dribbles wrong. His timing of dribbling is horrible. He'll get the ball with the up here underneath the rim.
Yeah, for sure.
And
so you're talking about one bounce, like try to finish or something.
Right. And then he'll get the ball at the free throw line, wide open shot, and not dribble.
Exactly.
Or legitimately, his awareness is some of the worst I've seen for a basketball player in a long time. Like, how many times did he get the ball right underneath the hoop and he would pump fake it or some shit? His straight up awareness dribbling, catching in traffic, all that stuff is awful. Defensively, when it comes, I want to fight you on this one. Defensively, when it comes to his physicality, I definitely believe he's more physical on defense, but the way everybody's been reffing him, like he can't be physical. He can't do that. So if they weren't calling fouls on him, I would say like he's probably one of the more physical types of defenders, but they're not allowing him to do so. And I think that's messed with his mind a lot too. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah.
Dude, so if they refed Draymond the same way that they refed DA, like he'd be defensive player of the year, right?
He's on fire.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not at all. And Draymond would never finish a game because Draymond complained. And that's my other thing about the way they treat us as a team. If Booker gets excited, he got 2 outbursts before tech.
Yep.
Draymond Green, every other play. He's every other play in it. He reacts to referees every other play on the defense and the offense end. There's been times where I've seen Dre react where he should have got a tech, where we would have gotten a tech, get it passed over, come on the opposite end of the floor, whether it's offense or defense, have something go down, react bigger than he just did on the opposite end. Nothing happens again, and then they call like an offensive foul going his way.
Yep.
Like the way that the things happen, and that's a whole different conversation because, and we were worried about Ayton is a bigger problem than I think people are understanding.
Yeah.
Because I said this earlier to one of my boys. Ayton's a 7-footer. Rare. Ayton's athletic and 7 foot. Rare.
42-inch vert for a 7-footer.
Rare.
That's ridiculous.
He's dominant on defense with offensive post moves. Rare. He has extended range. Rare. He's
efficient
young.
too. Not just like bullshit like I can shoot from here. No, I can shoot a high percentage from here.
Great touch around the basket. Great touch.
Finesse, one of the best to do it. So when people ask me, should we pay him? Yeah. Is he worth it? Yeah. Does he do what he needs to do on the court? Yeah. Are we spoiled? We're fucking spoiled. But
that's interesting.
But at the end of the day, if you don't want to play, and you don't want to be great, I don't care about all that other stuff. Because that is what gets us over the hump. Those are what makes championship moments. That is what makes the 7th player on the bench play like he should be starting. Those are the things that create a championship environment where we don't lose 3 straight games in the finals. We don't have a 30 to 40 point deficit in the game 7. Those are the things, bro. And that's where we fall in, Amit, to where you said earlier, you said, what if Cam Johnson gets the extension before him? How would that look? Not bad. Cam Johnson's not coming out saying, I'm spending 12 hours a day playing Fortnite and sleeping too. Cam Johnson's not saying that, I'm upset because I haven't had that extension the way it is. And with what we've dealt with as the Suns organization in the past, Antonio McDyess, Amari Stoudemire, everybody that I can go down the list, and we've given them super contracts. We have super injuries after. We have super things that take them out of it. So if you're already telling us that you're not in it, that's the problem. And that's why Cam comes vulnerable.
I see what you're saying. I just think sometimes we just read too much into this stuff. And with Ayton, I just go like with all these guys, right? Like Ayton had to endure, the suspension. He had to build the credibility back with his teammates, the organization, with us. He played at a certain level. The guy made the value. The guy played his heart out against everyone. The guy was efficient. He had, he set records for efficiency in the playoffs. I'm at a point where I'm like, and I see at the same time when, and this happens, right? Like, I mean, we've all played hoops, right? Like, and in my last league that I played in, I played on a team where, I needed to shoot more and I didn't get the ball. But I played defense, I made passes and everything, and we won a playoff game. And after the game, I went to my teammates and I said, "Did you guys have fun?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I didn't have fun. Like, I had to do all your bullshit for this game. The whole game, I did your bullshit."
That's Jay Crowder.
Yeah, and but that mentality is different when you're number one pick, right? That guy was undrafted. He was undrafted. So my point is, like, even if you win and then you lose, like, there's got to be some accountability. And I really think that the accountability is, because if you've seen like how DeAndre Ayton has grown his offensive game and defensive, prowess, right? I think like he deserves to shoot a couple threes a game. Fuck it.
You talking about DeAndre?
Up. Yeah, DeAndre Ayton.
But see, that's the problem, though. Amit, that's the problem. It's not his shot choices. It's nothing about his actual on-floor play. We're not having a discussion about productivity. That's not what this is about. And that's why people, I think, are giving us things in opinions that don't matter.
Correct. Yeah.
Because we're not talking about productivity. Productivity-wise, he got A's.
Yeah.
It's the next year and the next year and the next year of a 5-year contract worth the maximum amount we can pay you. And
sure.
When you say, but I'm not trying to like elongate what I'm trying to say, but when you say things as if it takes, and I don't think other people are understanding, a practice is 4 to 5 hours, 3 hours in the, you know what I'm saying, minimum for a scene. 12 hours of Xbox plus 4 hours of practice is 16 hours in a day. You need 6 to 8 to sleep. Where are you at in his life?
Plus, he's a new father, bro. He's a new father. You telling me like,
bro,
I don't have the energy not playing a sport every single day and raising a kid. I don't know how he does. Granted, he's probably got like a cook, a cleaner, all that stuff. But
I ain't got 12 hours of Xbox neither. And he said that's a minimum. Like that's, and I don't mean to blow up a statement like that and make it like sound, but it's huge, guys. That's a huge statement.
I don't know, man. I don't know if it's, I don't know if he's really talking like in like what the context is. Cause I don't know if you guys saw it today, but Anthony Davis said he hasn't shot a basketball since like April 5th.
But Anthony Davis has been injured. He's had season ending injuries, 12 times?
That guy's all, I mean, he's street clothes, right?
It's a different thing.
Okay, so the real question, what was the motivation last year for DeAndre Ayton to play so well? Was it because they were just in the playoffs and it was new and exciting for them? Did he want to get paid? And then what happened this year to make everything decline? It was a shortened off season. What in the hell happened? I am still going to go to my personal opinion, and this is just me. Don't wipe me on Twitter for this or anything. This is just me. I still think Devin and Chris Paul have a certain way of doing things and a certain way they want to do things, right? Mm. And it aligns perfectly with the way Monty wants to do things. Mm. Probably the same with Jay Crowder, Mikhail to a point, right? So DeAndre Ayton is not like them. I mean, Devin Booker is damn good at Call of Duty, whatever he plays, but he even admitted he had to cut down on the games, right? So Chris Paul and Devin are doing their thing. They're seeing DeAndre Ayton not doing it. And Amit, you're going to speak to this, because I asked you, but Jay Ness, how many times have you gone and played ball with somebody? You see them slacking or not pulling their weight or doing dumb shit, and you're like, I am not passing that dude to that dude again. How many times does that happen? Is that what's happening? And is DeAndre Ayton tired of hearing from it? Because you hear wherever Chris Paul goes, within about 2 or 3 years, Obviously, he was only in Houston for like 1 or 2. People get tired of hearing from Chris Paul because he's chirping, he's talking. Is DeAndre just sick of that? That's what I think it is.
But if you're sick of that, don't ask me for max. Don't ask me for that.
But he asked for the max last year. He was putting up with it. He's putting his hat
That's
on.
why
he
did what he did.
He was doing all that.
But that's why he did what he did this year. Because here's the thing. We all got jobs. We all feel more value than what we're getting paid. Most of us suck it up. There's the elite few in every job that go talk to their manager like, yo, it's been 6 months. You guys ain't talked to me about a raise. You haven't talked to me about this. You haven't talked to me about that. Like, where are we at? And when you don't get the answer you want, you have two choices. You start looking or you work harder.
And you know his agent is going in back channels too.
Right.
That happens. That's why
we're hearing these rumors.
That's why Flex said that thing about two stars wanting to come to Phoenix already. So
that's why we hear these
back
rumors.
channels, man. These players know each other. I don't want to talk too much more about this. We're an hour into this podcast. I really want to touch on some Arizona Cardinal stuff. If you guys are good, do you have anything finally you want to say about the Suns?
I mean, I'll just say this. Like, I think that, you know, when it comes to contracts and how things work with the team, like, I would just, things are always messy, and things are way more messy online nowadays than they've ever been. So
Facts.
If we're going to look at Twitter to be like the deciding factor or one of the factors for like DeAndre Ayton contract, because at the end of the day, if he signs a max, everything that all these idiots have been saying online doesn't mean shit, right? Like, it's fine. Like, we move on. But if things happen and Cam Johnson's moved and these expiring contracts become somebody else, or even like we do all that to keep Ayton, or we move Ayton in another way and do all that. I mean, we're all here like speculating, you know what I mean? And I'll just say this, like, David Nash had a really good tweet where he was basically showing that the touches for DeAndre Ayton has gone down every year. And obviously, like, the first couple of years, like, our team was shit. So he was getting the ball, even though he's still efficient with it. But the last 2 years, it's gone down to a point where it's like he's kind of been put into that Clint Capella type of role. And
sure.
Right. And we know that's not his game is it's expansive.
Yes.
So I would still want to explore what that is.
Totally. I totally get that. I'm
I'll
100.
end with this. My bad, coach.
No, go.
We're delayed. I'll end with this, guys. Just remember what it was like when we didn't have a center. Mark a year we had a center. Mark one. And
Luke Longley. Lucas Longley. Don't you dare.
Hey, make sure you say Lucas too. And you know, without taking up too much time making it dramatic, let's not have a conversation a year from now like we missed DA.
If he goes to Detroit, Atlanta, like wherever it is, San Antonio, he can put up his 20-12 or whatever, enjoy those 32 wins again, bro. And that's what
and that's true. And that's
like,
true.
You're
not going to help us.
No, but it doesn't help him either. And so the grass is always greener on the other side until it's not.
Just water the side you're on.
You know what I'm saying? And Chris Paul is only going to be here for another however many seasons. So if you can suck it up and it is for the better of you, I would prefer.
And Westville made a great point. Chris Paul is not a fucking 10th, excuse my French, of MJ and Kobe. He made a great point.
No. All right, let's move on. A lot of things going on with the Phoenix Suns, man. This is gonna take us up for a while. We're going to be talking about it next week. The draft is coming up. July is right around the corner. Let's hope things turn around. Arizona Cardinals. I fully expect them to have the best offense in the last 20 years, and there's no reason why they shouldn't or couldn't be able to. I can't wait to watch them, and we could go down the list, the names, the stats, yada, 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 yada. What about the defense? So I'm going to ask you guys right now, Jay Ness and Amit, who are our top 3 guys on defense? I hope, first off, we're all going to say Budda Baker's number 1, right? He's our best defensive player, right? 100%. Would you say that, Jay Ness?
Yeah.
Budda Baker, number 1. Y'all got a number 2?
Thompson.
Y'all got Jalen Thompson. That's my number 2.
That he has to be.
He's
your certified number 2.
Who's your number 2, Amit?
It's funny you say that. I'm projecting into next year, and I was going to say Isaiah Simmons.
Ooh, I like that.
I want that to happen. Okay. So if you're going to project that, totally fine. But who's your number 3 then?
So I can't project on the defensive line and the rest of the linebacking core because I don't know what to expect of them. So I have to go Jalen Thompson, number 3. But if I really wanted, who do I want my 3rd guy to be? I think I want it to be JJ Watt, if not the number 2, right?
Jay Ness, who's your number 3?
Marcus Golden.
He's solid.
I want to pick him too. I want to go with Zaven Collins. I want to go with these guys. I want to go with Zach Allen. I want to be able to pick these type of dudes. You can pick Marcus Golden, who had a down year last year, right? You could argue that, and he really didn't show the junkyard dog. Didn't show a lot of dog last year, and he could come back this year. I'm not saying he can't, but he didn't show that last year like he did the year before. Okay, if JJ Watt is our number 3 best defensive player, or even 2, that is a problem. And it's not because of his talent; it's because of his age and the lack of talent outside of that. Right. There are so many question marks. I think Zach Allen's going to make a leap this year. I don't think it's going to be this huge all-pro leap, but I think he can make a leap this year, like 6-7 sacks, a handful of QB hits, getting his paw up there, waving a couple down.
But I think Zach Allen don't think that JJ Watt has that elite defensive player in him anymore.
For 8 games.
What's his ceiling? What's his ceiling now?
No, I think he's elite still. But what coach is saying, and I agree with, JJ Watt can't be the carrier anymore.
No, for sure. You're not going to get 16 weeks of dominant football.
Even if we do, but even if we do, we got to worry about the playoffs because that's week 17. So
there's week 18, week 19 now.
Right, but in to Amit's point, even if we get 16, we still got like you just said, 2 more weeks in the regular. And then the playoffs too. So, to me, Marcus Golden had a down year statistically, but he had the right year on timing. He had sacks at the right time. He had tackles for loss at the right time. And losing Chandler Jones, which I know that we're hurt because I can tell.
I'm fine with it.
No, we're hurting, bro. We're hurt.
By the way, where did the guy from Carolina that played for the Cardinals previously, did he
went to Philly.
He went to Philly for how much?
I don't know how much.
It wasn't a lot.
13 mil a year or something that was affordable.
So we could have got him.
Hassan Reddick, you're talking about?
Yeah, Reddick. We could have got Reddick.
No, we couldn't have got Reddick.
He wanted to go to Philly.
13 million a year on our line is a lot of money.
He wanted to go to Philly because that's where he's from, and he played college in Temple. So we were number 2 is what I heard, but there was nothing past Philly. It was Philly or bust for him.
We would have had to go 18, 17 million a year to get him. But at the end of the day, to sum up what I was trying to get at, JJ Watt is going to get sacks. JJ Watt is going to have 2 sack games. JJ Watt's going to have 2 or 3 games in a row where he has sacks. JJ Watt's going to do what he does. It's just if he's the best, we're on our way to doom.
I don't think so because look at our defensive line, man. Rashard Lawrence and Lecky Fotu up the middle, they haven't done anything. Fotu
Folks
They
who
haven't
have.
stayed healthy at
But I think all
flashes.
those, I think
Nothing
what we see
consistent.
from those guys,
True.
what we see from those guys is built around JJ Watt and Chandler Jones. Like
True.
they're in a system where they're creating stuff. So the reason I'm
Even
like,
Marcus, they're used to push.
yeah. So like with that group, right? Like my concern is that because JJ Watt, like he had like 6 weeks where he was balling out of his mind with
Yeah.
Chandler Jones together, right? Or either one of them or the other one was doing it. If you don't have like one of those guys doing something every week, then especially in the playoffs, like we're fucked. We're big time fucked.
And that's where I come with Zach Allen, who had 4 sacks last year in a kind of a limited role to a point. I really think he's going to step up. He's going to be the guy to get 8 to 10 this year. But then you look at our outside of Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons. I don't know if you guys listened to PHNX with Bo Brock and Johnny Venerable this past week, and they were talking about Zaven and they were talking about Isaiah Simmons. Apparently, Zaven Collins is coming out and saying like, hey, I'm not going to be calling the defense this next year, even though that's what he was slated to be. He liked how he was moving around on defense last year. He was rushing a little bit. Johnny goes on record and saying that was his best game was when he was playing outside rusher when Chandler Jones was out for that Dallas Cowboys game. And that's the best he looked. So they're thinking about him not being that middle guy. And we've already seen Isaiah Simmons can't be that middle guy. And now you got Zaven Collins getting in trouble in Scottsdale last year, coming from Little Tulsa, Oklahoma, then he getting in trouble.
Yeah, Scottsdale, y'all.
Stay out of Scottsdale if you're a pro sports guy. And then on top of all that, he's coming out saying everything was fast for him last year, which is nothing new for NFL defensive guys, right? But he says he was a deer in the headlights last year when he came out. And now he's not calling the defense? Bro.
That doesn't scare me.
I'm not worried about that.
It should scare you. He's a year and a half into the NFL. He's supposed to be taking over. We just got rid of Jordan Hicks, who
he was the fastest player on his team every time.
That doesn't mean shit if you can't read anything and react.
You can go back and watch his highlight reel, and you could see that he called the correct gap, or he did whatever he had to do in the right way. Same with Isaiah Simmons. Like, because Isaiah Simmons, I think, had something similar that happened after his first year, where he's just like, I didn't know where I was supposed to be at. And he still made plays, right? But he's a beast of an athlete compared to Zaven Collins. And Zaven Collins he's like a Urlacher, like those type of linebackers like that can make plays. You know what I mean? I saw Jay shaking his head.
But wouldn't it be nice if we knew if this Cardinals defensive staff played these dudes more than 20 plays a game? No.
Because what Ahmed said, Ahmed just said was 1,000% right to an extent. What we're getting at, what we're seeing from these guys is they know how to call plays. They know how to read the defense. It's just that they use their speed so much in college to make up for the things that they were out of place in.
I see.
And I think now what happens is when the ball's hiked, it took 3 to 4 seconds in college for the play to develop. When the ball is hiked here, within 1 to 2 seconds, the play's developed. The gap is already hit. It's open already. And yes, to what you said, Evan, earlier, Coach. Yes, they can still react, but it's 2 to 3 seconds later than what they were reacting in college. And every player is 2 to 3 seconds faster.
Yeah.
Every person is precision with what they're supposed to do on the X's and O's. They're not catching a junior out of place. They're not catching a sophomore out of place and going in and doing that. So, Zaven, I'm so glad we're taking him away from those duties.
You just want him to stop thinking and react.
You got the speed.
Man.
You got all the athletic abilities.
But then what was he drafted for? But that's a Steve Keim thing then.
I feel like he's one of the smartest players on our defensive team. I think he is.
We haven't seen that, so I don't know how you could say that.
To have the full cerebral control of the defense.
But I think that's something that's still taught for the NFL versus the college.
Yeah.
I mean, just because you're a captain in college doesn't mean that you should be captain day one in the NFL.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
No,
who
and
else
I'm
is
not saying you
captain?
are.
You know,
No.
like I wouldn't like if anyone I would trust, it's Buddha, but he can't be the Mike. You know what I mean? Like he can't be the Mike. So that's
We got rid of
like,
Jordan.
I'm like, who's gonna be the Mike?
We got rid of Jordan.
This guy right here is going to be the Mike right there. We're about to see him a lot, I feel like.
Nick is nice. But to Ahmet's point, Hicks, that's why we were so gun-ho on keeping him.
Yeah.
But now we get this guy that could be just as good, maybe, but also at a fraction of the price, like $2 million versus like 19.
Right.
Big difference there. But when I look at this defense, and if you compare it name by name to the offense,
Not even close.
So our friend Alex Clancy from Locked On Cardinals had a podcast recently, and I want to close it up in the next 5 to 10 minutes here. He said this team is already going to be scapegoated through Vance Joseph and this defensive unit. I don't disagree with him.
Well, yeah,
because this defense getting set up to fail hard.
They extended Kingsbury, right? Kingsbury's not going to get fired next year. It's going to be Vance Joseph that gets fired.
So they're already creating that narrative.
But that's not wrong.
It's not wrong, but it's not right either because like Keim should have been gone last year.
Keim should have gone before Cliff came.
Well,
Keim should have been fired after hiring what's his dude after one season and drafting Josh Rosen.
After 3 years of Hassan Reddick.
Steve Wilkes. But look, dude, like the thing is, like, if you're in a GM and you can, the fact that, so this is where I give Keim that 1 year to get Kingsbury in there and doing everything, because he was able to like flip the entire narrative and be like, okay, we drafted the wrong quarterback, we had the wrong coach, we had the wrong scheme, we're going to start completely over. Like, he admitted, he didn't say it, but he admitted that the organization did the wrong thing, right?
Sure.
So they pivoted from there and went in the right direction with Kyler being the number one pick and then building around that player. At this point, though, I'm just like, with the history of Keim drafting players, like, I don't know, like, especially with the defensive coordinator, I'm just like, Can we? You got to be able to. If you're going to pivot that quickly on the coach and the quarterback, then you should be able to pivot quickly on the defensive coordinator. And we should have done that last year.
To Westfield's point, after he cut Michael Floyd, that is the realest statement ever.
Yep.
What he did to Michael Floyd in a time when Michael Floyd was budding, that is the realest statement ever. And I'm just going to stack on that real quick because you don't go from 13 to number one. That's not you can admit whatever you want. I understand what you're saying, but he had no choice. He went from 13 or 15 to number one.
Dude, I would say, to counter your point, I would say that Michael Floyd sucked that year.
Floyd had a breakout year that year. That was the year Floyd was going over the top finally. That was the year that the deep bomb was working for Floyd. That was the year that he was having the breakout yak yards. That was the only year.
No, I thought it was I thought he broke out the first year with Carson Palmer, and we broke out, almost made the playoffs, and then the next year he screwed everything up. But
the off season.
Was it the off season?
Yeah, he got the DUI in the off season after the year that Carson and him got off.
He was about to be Calvin Johnson, bro.
Right, bro. He was finally Floyding. He was finally Floyding.
He was Floyding people. That game in Seattle, I'll never forget.
I don't think he's going to be Megatron.
Let's pull that. No, but you see,
Coach, I get what you're saying. Yeah, he was going up over people.
But Keim not getting fired after the DUI was just proof that Bidwill and the Cardinals organization is nothing but a good old boys club.
Right. That
is a big problem to me.
That's a big problem. It's a big problem. And I'm looking at Michael Floyd's stats right now. He only had 1,000-year season. That was his second year in the league.
And that was the narrative. That was why that year was so crucial, because he got to like 960. And but wait, was that the year was that a year after his dad passed?
I don't know when I don't know about
forgot
that
about
part.
that.
I
I
just
don't
know
know.
his last year in Arizona was 2015. That season, the 2015-16 season, and he had 89 catches for 840 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, that was the season. Because his first 4 games, he didn't do nothing, and then he just broke out. But I think that's also the season that Bill Will's dad died. And I think that has something to do with us keeping kind.
Man, that's a good man. I hope not.
I really do, bro.
Not.
I really think that was a testament to his father.
So he sorry, I was looking at the wrong year. 2016 was a year where he was cut. Was that the year? 70 targets, 33 catches, 400 yards in 13 games. That's when
so that was the year he got cut from New England.
Yeah. Then he went to New England and he played in 2 games.
Yeah.
2 games, 4 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown.
Hey, before we get out of here, I want to bring up one thing.
Please.
Us Cardinal fans, this is for everybody. Hollywood Murray. Remember this. Remember Hollywood Murray. That's going to be a phrase that we're going to fucking buy into, and we're going to plaster that mug everywhere.
I love it.
I just seen what Sonia said, and Sonia, you're 100% right. The first 6 games are going to decide our season, but I'm going to tell you something else. If Hollywood Murray works too well, we don't have DeAndre next year.
Yep.
And as sad as I am to say that, if Hollywood Murray works too well, we don't have DeAndre next year. And right now, Hollywood Murray looks good.
Rejected.
I agree with. I'm sorry. I don't agree with that. You never know what's gonna happen, and it could be just they could be best buds, and it could just work out. I don't know, but
it will.
If it does work, I think that more leads to the narrative of CeeDee Lamb joining us as opposed to DeAndre Hopkins leaving. I think it more points towards that, and you have to get rid of D Hop to take on that salary.
I can do that.
I see that.
If we lose 2 DeAndres, I have a lot of explaining to do to my son because I've had to explain to him who Hopkins is and who Ayton is, and now I have to tell him that none of those guys even matter anymore. I have a big problem internally for me.
He's on fire.
That was perfect, Diamond. I didn't even take it like
Sonia,
that.
I know you're a Cowboys fan. We're never gonna like that team, but I have a lot of thoughts on your team's jerseys. When we talk about that, we have a pod planned for that later.
Never ever.
And yes, we will take CD. We will take CD as well.
We'll take him off your hands. Don't worry, Sonia.
Yeah. We sure will. I'll pick him up at the airport.
You can keep Micah Parsons though. You can keep Micah.
Yeah. Hey. We'll trade Zavin and Isaiah for Micah Parsons. Don't play with us like that.
I want D-line help. I'm so sick of drafting linebackers and acquiring them and signing them and just like completely avoiding our defensive line. Remember when we had Corey Peters there year after year after year because they couldn't do anything else?
Bro.
Hey, real quick, would you trade DeAndre Ayton for CeeDee Lamb?
If it meant the Cardinals get a Super Bowl, let's go. I'm all about it.
Super Bowl.
I'll do it.
Absolutely.
Let's send him to Dallas. Let's send DeAndre Ayton to the Mavericks for CeeDee Lamb, and let's just call
Sonia
it.
Ain't happy.
Dude,
Sonia,
I tell you what we think. Like, we love the Suns, but if the Cardinals won, we'd fucking celebrate that
over the Suns all day.
My wife's a Cowboys fans too.
But who would you want win the more, Jay? Suns or Cards?
Cards.
Suns.
You won the Super Bowl, right?
Oh,
I want the Suns for me. Suns are my
Super
first
Bowl
love.
is the most prestigious thing in this world.
Suns are my first love, and I can't back. I'm staying true to my heart. I can't back off that.
Well,
I love the Suns first too, but
me too.
It means
I love basketball more than football. I love the NFL more than the NBA, but I love basketball more than football.
Yes, both of those statements. Yes.
But I still like the idea that it takes 7 games to win versus like one like fluke ass game, right? Like that's why I'd rather see the Suns win.
But that's why I like the NCAA tournament. How that's the best tournament in all of sports because it is that one game fluky, and you need to be ready to go. So that's
why I like FIBA. Not to change it up totally, but that's why I like soccer.
World Cup, right? Like you can't make that excuse in the World Cup. There's something to be said for that, but there's something to be said about 7-game series. I mean, go and watch the NHL playoffs this year. Holy shit, has that been fun? That's been fun. I don't watch a lot of hockey. I started this year. I've had some on in the background, and then I'm catching myself like, what just happened? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said for both. NBA is just a different game, and it's a different game with 5 out now. NFL is a different game. You know, it's all about offense and not so much about defense. Oh man, Sonya just went off on us. Just boom, 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 boom.
Hey, I will say this real quick. I will say this real quick. Calais Campbell is one of my favorite players ever to play this game. I've met Calais more than I've met Calais a lot of times. I've had lunch with Calais. I've had dinner with Calais. I've seen him quite a few times. Us losing Calais Campbell changed the narrative in the Cardinals defense forever. And
for the past 5-6 seasons, whenever it was he went to Jacksonville.
Yep. And I'll tell you guys something else. Before he got this contract re-signed this year, I talked to Calais, and Calais was gung-ho about coming back here. And
no good.
Thank you for putting that up. That was perfect timing. Fucking kind. We dropped the ball, but Calais could have been our solve all. Calais literally could have been our solve all, and we didn't have to pay him a lot.
Nope.
We didn't have to do nothing extra. Calais is a Cardinal.
Isn't that what we said about Corey Peters though? Like, didn't we say the same thing about Corey Peters?
No. Corey Peters is just consistent.
I think we did. I don't know how consistent he is, man. He's an old man now.
Now, but Corey Peters was here for 7 straight years and he just never faulted. We knew what to expect from Corey. We knew what he was good at. We knew what he was not good at. We were able to protect him. And Corey just did. We replaced Calais with Corey because we had nothing else.
So why didn't he come here then? Why did we drop that ball? Did they just not want him? Did they not want to pay? Did they not believe what?
I think they thought, because if you remember the way Calais signed after everything.
Yeah, man. It was like a month after the signing period opened up.
And he was in Arizona. There's social media posts where he was in Arizona at that time.
I told you guys, I talked to Calais twice before the signing.
Yeah.
I seen him randomly. And then after I seen him randomly, I hit him up. And I talked to him twice. Calais would have been here. And I'm telling you guys, Klein is something that I don't like because of our repeat players. They don't want to come back. There's something going on, and it has to be Klein. Period.
That was one of my targets right from the beginning. That was one of my targets. That
was my only target.
That was my top 5 target, like all around. I wanted him. Cheap, has that Cardinal mentality. Everybody would have loved him. Son of a bitch, that pisses me off. Now you put me in a bad mood.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's my dude.
What is a cheap deal though? Like I don't
7, 8, 9 million a year.
No, I need minimum. Like I can't take better Calais. No,
ain't my money. Ain't my money.
Well, whoever
not
took him,
success.
they overpaid. Listen, dude. Whoever took Calais Campbell for whatever, I don't remember who signed him. Whoever took him, that they overpaid.
He went back.
And we know that.
He went back
to Ravens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Ravens overpaid when they signed him the first time, right? I think.
Why do you believe that?
I just saw what their defense did.
We're 6.25 million is his deal, as much as 16.5 total with incentives.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind
12.5 over 2 years.
I need half of that if you want to come back. Like,
can I say this though?
Yeah.
Last year, he had 49 tackles. The year before, he had 28. Last year, and remember, we're talking about Calais. So everything that he tackles, this is a run. This is in the backfield. Calais had 20 tackles for losses last year. He had 10 the year before. So when I say that there's something about Calais, just like Warren Sapp. Even the years Warren Sapp didn't have high sack numbers, he was a force. He didn't have to touch you, and your quarterback felt it. Dominic, bro, that's our new age Warren Sapp.
So I would just say if you're gonna bring up those stats, I want to hear pass deflections and I want to hear pressures, because that tells me what he's actually doing. 12
QB hits. He only had one pass deflection, and you know what? Calais Campbell's really good at pass deflection. So
yeah,
that was a very good stat to bring up. He only had one. He only had one. To what you're saying, he only had one.
And then
and he only had one forced fumble, which he doesn't do a lot.
Still pretty good.
That's still better than what Zach Allen, Lecky Fotu, or Rashard Lawrence did as a whole.
Yes.
Hey, and that's the point.
How many sacks?
He had a bad season for sacks. He only had 1.5. That was his
more
worst
than
season.
Lecky Fotu.
But that's his worst season in the NFL.
That was more than Lecky Fotu, and that was more than Rashard Lawrence, who had 11 tackles last year.
But remember,
no forced
2 years
fumbles, no nothing.
2 years ago, Calais had 10.5 sacks, and the year before he had 14.5.
Yeah. And you're talking about the Jaguars years where they went to the AFC Championship game and all that stuff with Blake Bortles and all that.
And no, Sonia, nobody likes nobody likes this. I don't mind the Bird City. I don't like Bird City football.
No, because it's not Bird City football.
Someone need to work
Bird City Football Club.
Yeah, they need to workshop that.
Put up Westville even said it.
But hey, let me give you guys a concept that I thought before that before the Washington Football Club changed their team. I thought they should have went to Washington. So they should have been Washington Football District of Columbia football team. So like
I could dig it.
Right? Like
better than the Commanders,
keep that Washington football team. So it could be WFDC, whatever, right?
WFDC.
Yeah. Just like why go and have a whole thing, make the Commanders and all that stuff. Like you had just simplify the concept, just make it, just real basic. DCFC, right? District of Columbia Football Club. Like
I kind of like it. It's different. It's against the grain, but it's actually kind of sleek.
You know what, Sonia? The reason why we don't like it, just to get on that real quick, is because of that word "bird gang." Like we started that. That was something that us as the fan base made, and it stuck. It stuck. And this is called corporate correction.
That was
Darnell Dockett, bro. That
right.
Was
this is corporate. Dockett. This is corporate correction. Don't make me go get my Darnell Dockett jersey. Now you talking about the loves of my Cardinals. You know what I'm saying?
Carlos
Darnell
Dansby.
and Calais in the same show.
And Carlos Dansby, and Adrian Wilson. Give me that.
Don't even start. See, Evan?
But that was the year when we never had a tight end, and now we have like 3 tight ends. So you win some, you lose some.
You almost made me choke myself. So we never had a tight end. Now we got 3.
Now we got 3.
In theory, let's see.
And McBride is nice. Hey guys, I was watching him. I was watching him on training camp the other day. And there's certain things that he does that I've never seen from our tight end position. Our tight end position.
They just like about Troy Nicholas, Rob Hausler.
But Troy Nicholas had all those. Troy Nicholas had everything. He just didn't perform.
Dude, we had so many tight ends. We're like, this guy's gonna be awesome. So many, dude. How many do I have to think about?
None of them were Freddie Jones.
Good. So many of those guys, dude, that we thought we'd be good.
Yeah,
and none of them were good. To this day, it's all potential. Even to 2022, it's all potential. Like Max Williams, blown out knee.
Max Williams, Zach Ertz, Trey McBride. Now, big dudes that can play the slot, play the lineup as a tight end, and be a big body up the middle for Kyler Murray in that 5 to 12 yard area. Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
And the most functional tight end, I'm sad to say, of anyone that I've seen has been
Jim Dre.
Yes.
I knew it.
He's been the most functional out of all tight ends we've ever had.
You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of old boy from the Colts.
I remember Todd Heap.
I hope you're not going to say Dallas.
Yes, Dallas Clark.
No,
Yep.
dude. This guy.
That's what he reminds me of.
couldn't catch
Dallas
like that
Clark,
guy.
wow.
This guy could only catch touchdowns. He could not catch anything else.
But
Literally,
Dallas
all he
Clark
caught was
only
touchdowns.
caught touchdowns for 6 years.
Yeah, but he had Peyton Manning throwing 40-yard bombs.
That's why Peyton was
This
like,
guy
"Hey,
was
bro, I
catching
need a
like
first
1-yard
down."
outs.
Yeah, that's why
1-yard outs.
Peyton just told him, "Said, hey, bro, I need a first down." You
To be
can't just
fair, a
catch
couple of those
touchdowns.
guys had like Skelton, Kevin Cobb throwing them the ball too. So I'm not saying nothing about
Max. What was it? What was old boy's name? Max.
that. Yeah, it don't matter, dude. That
Max
guy
Hall.
went to BYU and got in trouble.
Max Hall.
Man.
Hey,
All
He
right,
won a
y'all.
game.
real quick,
He beat the
before you
Saints,
go,
dude. He beat the Saints.
I just remember what I
He
wanted
did.
to say to you guys about our middle linebackers. Sorry to take us all the way back to there,
No,
But-
that's where we started.
but I'm gonna take us to Frisco, and I'm gonna take us to 6'6". I'm gonna take you to Patrick, and when we drafted Zaven and we drafted Isaiah, I swear to you guys, Kime was looking at Patrick, and he was like, "Man, if I can get a guy that's over 6 foot tall, because Patrick was 6'6", running a 4.4, 4.3, 4.5, like right in that range. And well, I'm gonna take it up to 4.5, 4.3, 4.4. And I think that's what we see in Zavin, and that's what we see in Isaiah. And Patrick called the plays too. So when we look at Zavin and we look at Isaiah, give them time, guys.
I know.
Probably
Yeah.
they're probably the most athletic middles in the game right now. Mika is a dog. He's gonna be the future of that solid, consistent Bobby Wagner type, right? That's gonna be a
Yeah.
Mika.
Hey, it took 4 years for Hassan Reddick to get it,
Right.
Yeah.
and then he broke out with 13 sacks, 5 in a game.
Because bro, the middle
Like
linebacker
8 over 2 weeks. 8 over 2 weeks.
8 over 2 weeks. But our middle linebacker game today versus what it was 5, 6, 7 years ago is different because people are as fast as everybody on the field.
True.
So give them some time.
Okay.
These are the most athletic linebackers in the league, and we have them on their same team.
I agree.
And
I think we got to give them time, and I think like there's two.
But
ways
they need to
build
play.
a defense.
Yes.
No, but they need to play
They
for better
absolutely
or
have
for
to be
worse at
starting.
this point.
They have to be started.
Agreed.
And I think there's two ways to look at like when you're drafting. Like one is okay, like we're gonna like get a guy and hopefully fits our system, and if he doesn't, or whatever happens. Another way today is like let's just take the best player, and if that guy blows up our entire defensive scheme because he's just so talented, let's build around that guy, right? Bobby
Aaron
Wagner,
Donald.
Richard Sherman, Aaron Donald, like those types of dudes, right? Where it's just like, yeah, like we somehow hit the lottery here. Let's build around that guy. And I think like we have guys that are playmakers at every level, but we don't have the superstar. And I always said this about Buda Baker is like my fear is that he's a Bob Sanders player where yeah, he can get you to the Super Bowl, but he can also like exit the Super Bowl because he's a heat-seeking missile that's going to get hurt.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's a good point too, because even Merriweather, he had his 3 or 4 years where he was just exciting and did what he wanted to do. It reminds me more like Buddha, because Buddha doesn't do like he's not out here like Palomalu or one of those.
Yeah, he's not that big. He's
Right.
not big.
As much as I hate losing to the Lakers, I absolutely hate losing to the Cardinals.
It's because it's football. That's why.
I love you, Sonia. Who was the two dudes that always crushed us that played for Carolina that were up in the middle? It was the black dude and the white dude, and I can't remember either of their
Talking
names.
about Thomas Davis.
Kuechly.
Thomas
Yeah, Kuechly.
Davis and Kuechly. Yep.
Kuechly.
Yes. Yeah.
Kuechly killed the
They
hell out of
absolutely
us.
ruined it.
How?
But
nice
I'll say
would
this.
that be?
Killed us like.
I'll say this because I used to go to the Cardinals games when they used to play in Sun Devil Stadium, and I went to preseason games. I went to all those Cowboys games where it's like 90% Cowboys fans, and all those
Sure.
people are from Phoenix for some reason. Sonia being Cowboys fans, and my top five, one of my top 5 favorite plays is when I don't remember who the player was, but that was that overtime game where we broke the punter's foot, the Cowboys punter's foot. That is always a top 5 highlight for me.
Hey,
That's what I want to see when I die. Like, just put that in the highlight reel before I die. I want to see that.
best highlight of all time is my man Pat Tillman flipping off all the Cowboys fans in that playoff game in 98 or 99. He's just walking away like,
hey,
that was
you
my
know what?
favorite.
If you're a Cardinals fan, that was the best times. Even though we lost a lot, even though we went through a lot of trials.
3 games in a row we were supposed to lose. 3 games the Cardiac Cards and Jake Plummer came out.
Yep.
Neil Rackers with a final kick to get us there. Beating the Cowboys on the road, only to get absolutely slaughtered by the Vikings.
Frank,
That's okay.
Rob, Larry. Oh man, Aeneas,
Joel Makovica. Yep.
Bro, we can go on and on. There were so many names.
Who was our running back? Was Pittman our running? Michael Pittman was not our running back.
It was
he was with the Bucks.
Rob Moore was our receiver.
That's the receiver.
We were doing it by committee at that time.
Yes.
We had Pittman, we had Ship, we had Marcel Ship.
No.
Yes. We had Marcel Ship for the playoff stint. For the playoff stint, Marcel Ship was our secondary. He was our short yardage back. And then we had the dude that used to play for Minnesota.
No, we had Adrian Morrell, homie.
Smith? Are you talking about
Adrian Morrell, 1998 roster. Adrian Morrell.
Adrian Morrell was not our starter. Who else was on that roster?
Looking at running back, Mario Bates.
Yep, Bates, and then
I'm looking.
Did Bates play at ASU? Where Bates play?
Bates, I forget where Bates.
Nothing else showing up, bro. That's it. Let me go to 1998. Let me go to stats because I think you're right. But Adrian Morrell, man, those dudes, if you played a Madden, they were ranked like 58 and 62 on effing Madden, dude.
Terrible.
Hey, that was back in the day when you played with the Cardinals and the game starts, you push pause, substitutions.
Yeah.
Make all the trades beforehand.
Right.
Yeah. Rushing. Adrian Morrell had 1,000 yards. Mario Bates had 165. Jake Plummer had 217. Larry Centers had 110. Michael Pittman had 91.
You know what?
Michael Pittman was 23 years old. He must have been a rookie.
Yep.
He was a rookie.
Yep.
And that Larry Centers year, dude. Shouts to Centers, man. That guy has been a go, dude.
My favorite player of all time for the Cardinals.
That guy
Here's a name. Chris Gedney, wide receiver. Wow. Chris Gedney. Wow. Eric Metcalf. Eric Metcalf was a wide receiver. Rob Moore.
And that was a running back.
He played Rob Moore, Frank Sanders, and then that's when we had Marte. That was
then the very next year we drafted David Boston.
Yep.
Do you guys remember when like Larry Centers would catch like 15 passes in a game?
Yeah.
And it was just like, and he would just get like ruined by the defense just tackling him. But they would just keep throwing the screen passes to him all game because that was the only thing they could do. Because
he was literally mad
to throw the ball down the field.
He was literally mad.
Oh my gosh. There was one year he had 962 yards receiving and 254 rushing.
A fullback.
Centers, right?
A fullback.
Yeah.
A fullback.
That just tells you like what the hell is wrong with the offense.
Oh shit.
My goodness, could anybody name anybody on that team for our starting offensive line?
No, and I wouldn't want to try.
Come on, there's one you got to know one.
Anthony Clements.
Nope.
He wasn't on that squad, so it was next year.
He was not a starter.
Michael, was that Michael Bateman or whatever?
Bro, you just say Michael. That doesn't work. You got to actually give a name.
Come on, y'all. Lomas Brown.
Oh, God.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
Defensive line was Andre Wadsworth, Rashad Swinger, Mark Smith, and Simeon Rice. Linebackers were Jameer Miller, Tony McCombs, the one and only Ronald McKinnon, followed by defensive backs were Aeneas Brown, J.B. Brown, or Aeneas Williams, J.B. Brown, Tommy Bennett, Pat Tillman.
Aeneas Williams, man.
Pat Tillman was a rook.
And Pat Tillman and Ronald McKinnon. Ronald McKinnon was like he was like the Urlacher for a shitty team.
Right.
We had some pretty nice players for never being able, and then we still had old man Eric Swan on the team.
Was Kwame Lassiter the year after that?
Kwame was on this team. He looks like he was a second year guy on this team.
Big ups to Kwame.
Rest in peace, Kwame. 4 interceptions in a game. Dude was a killer. Joe Nedney was the old man Scott Player, the best punter Arizona Cardinals have ever seen.
I'll tell you guys what. I've hung out with a lot of the Cardinals over the years. Kwame Lassiter was a stand-up guy, man. Like, that was a stand-up guy. Rest in peace, Kwame.
And we had Corey Chavis as well, too. That's another guy that you know.
Corey
guys?
Chavis.
Corey Chavis.
I love that dude.
This has been fun. Anthony Clement was on the team. He was a rookie this year. That's why he didn't.
Right.
That's why he didn't. Lyle Sendline. His mom was my math teacher when I was in 6th grade. That's when dope. Lyle Sendline was a senior, and he just committed to Texas.
That's dope.
That's how old I am. You guys, this has been a lot of fun. There's a lot of questions still to be asked and answered. Good news is the Dbacks got a win, avoided that sweep. They're still 4 games under 500.
Mikal Bridges
13
Appreciation Day incoming.
Mikal Bridges Appreciation Day, even though he was talking trash because he's a Phillies fan the whole time. That was funny.
That was hilarious.
A lot of good things coming out. This is an hour 45 in, and me and Amr are like, well, it's only go like 40 minutes today or something. Here we are, an hour 45. It just shows the passion that we have here. A lot of good things are coming up in ASAP Sports. If you guys don't know, please go ahead and check out the ASAP Sports Network. A lot of good shows, programming, all the content you could ever find on there, whether you're into the WNBA, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Miami Heat, the Lakers, whatever it is, ASAP Sports has it covered. They even got NASCAR and betting shows, wrestling shows. We could keep going on and on. So please go ahead and check those out. Everyone like, share, subscribe this channel as well too. He's on Fire podcast. I'm going to try to do something next Friday or next Sunday. I don't know if it's going to work because I actually got to take a red-eye flight at 11:50 p.m. my time all the way to Daytona Beach, and it's Father's Day. So I don't think something's going to happen. Maybe while I'm on the road, something can pop up. We also got the draft coming up next week. We will definitely try to put out some content. Either way, please check out Amit and Jay Joyce as they do He's on Fire After Dark. That's been a lot of fun. Go check that out as well. And Amit and Jay, if you guys could just hang around just for a second afterwards, after the outro rolls. And I just want to chat for a second to you guys. But thank you, everybody, for joining He's on Fire podcast tonight, Sunday, late night. Anybody that stayed up watching this, I appreciate you. Enjoy the outro. We need a championship, you guys.
Hey, man.
Peace.
Hey, for real. We love y'all.
Urbanchi sets. Looks up. And it is caught. Down strong. That's coming. Matthews. Palmer extending the play. Crosses the field. Larry Fitzgerald.
There he scores. It's over.
It's insane. To the 4-yard line. Crowder looking, throws it alley. Oh! He puts it down. He puts it down. They're getting a little wobbly. The downfield shot.